Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Real Agents Podcast, a podcast where we talk about life, real estate, and everything in between. So if you like your advice and insights shaken and not stirred, well, then this is the podcast for you. I'm Eric Carrington, that's Kevin Muir, and we are the Real Agents. Hey, Kevin, what's happening, brother? Thank you for being
Not
here.
too much, Eric. Yeah, happy to be here, man. I'm excited that you invited me on. It's a unique experience, so ready to get started with this.
Wow, bringing the enthusiasm right away. Unique as in a positive way? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I'm going to take it. Little did you know, this is our Christmas spectacular. So I had a Christmas hat here somewhere, but I can't find it. So we're just gonna sing. We wrap up this episode with Christmas carols. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. No, I can do it in mean rendition of Silent Night. So
Awesome. I'm anxious to hear that. Just so everyone is up to speed, Kevin is here filling in for the beautiful Nicole Dash, whose lovely little daughter Savannah is ill today, and she sent us the saddest picture. Kevin, you didn't see it, but this poor little girl, you could tell she was not having it, and yeah, I felt bad for her through her text. So she cannot be here, and you stepped up last minute, came in, put you in, coach. You're going to go for 30. You're going to dish out 20 dimes, and you're going to get 10 rebounds. Can you handle that?
yeah, hey, I'm ready. I mean, normally sometimes you ride the bench and then you come in and 30 boards, 10 assists. I'm good for that.
Heat check. All right. So, Kevin, I'm not going to pretend like the 12 people that watch this don't know who you are, but I will just say that Kevin has been with the team now for a little over 2 years, about 2.5 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, about 2.5 years. I started in August of 21. So right in the heat of the pandemic, and then just kind of stuck around since.
Okay, so that just begs the question. How old are you? Do you mind me asking how old are you?
So as of recording of this, I'm 25. I turned 26 at midnight. So
Shut the front door.
yeah. Tomorrow, 12/12, 26 years old, got to get my own
Holy
insurance. So
smokes, get down. Yeah, mom and dad kick you off the insurance at midnight, huh?
yeah, the good news is they have a 30-day buffer. So all the research I haven't done yet on my own insurance, I get to do that soon.
Well, happy birthday, man. Normally I would sing happy birthday for you, but no one wants to hear that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's bad podcasting to sing happy birthday in the middle, I
Yeah,
think.
no, I'm not gonna do that. But happy that's amazing, man. So 23, I guess, you decide you want to be a real estate agent. Is that
Yeah,
right?
man, it was pretty interesting. So, sort of my backstory. I was born and raised in Fairfax County. Actually, my mom and my grandma were both real estate agents. So,
Okay.
I went to college. I had a nice job working out in Morgantown, West Virginia. Let's go Mountaineers. And then, kind of when COVID started, that job just dissolved. And I ended up having to move back in with my parents at the nice spry age of 22.
Wow.
For a year, kind of went between some jobs. I was doing logistics for a couple flower companies for a while when I first moved back. And then I kind of got the spark of, hey, let's see what this real estate thing's all about. So I reached out to Jay directly. He's one of the owners of DDA. And I sent him a Facebook message and I just kind of said, hey, man, this is something that I think I'm interested in. Do you have something I can do to kind of get my feet wet? Like I didn't think that I was applying to become a real estate agent. So I
Wow.
went in and talked with the owners and talked with a couple of the managers. And kind of the answer that I got was, hey, go get your license. So knocked out the course and started, I think, 2 or 3 weeks later with training.
That's freaking fantastic. Did you get that spark from, watching your mom, watching your grandma do this, and was there always this part of you that thought this is something you think you would be good at?
It's definitely something that intrigued me. I didn't think that that was going to be me. My brain is a lot more like math, statistics types related, and that's what I went to college for.
What was your major?
But then,
And where'd you go? You went to West Virginia.
so Yeah, I went to West Virginia. I studied biometric systems, so it was a lot of computer science and math and statistics. And
Perfect, perfect for real estate. Absolutely.
yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just saw what they were doing, and I was around it enough, and it had crossed my mind before that this was something I was interested in. And a lot of the time while I was working at the flower shops, I was actually like listening to a lot of the real estate investment podcasts and things like that. Um, and I just kind of went deeper and deeper until one day I just said, "Hey, let's give this thing a shot."
So, you came in, you started at the arguably one of the craziest times in our industry. What was that experience like? What was it? It was kind of like being thrown right into the frying pan, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, I mean, it was like drinking water through a fire hose. I mean, it was, I went in. We were actually just starting up the Zillow Flex program,
yeah,
and that was kind of the reason they started to bring people in, was so that we had more hands on deck to deal with those phone calls. And I went through the training, and then pretty much as soon as I was released, people were coming to open houses. People were writing offers all the time, and it wasn't
well,
something that
wait,
I had
well,
anticipated.
back up. Talk me through that whole training process. I mean, you make it sound like on Tuesday you decided to be an agent, and by Friday you were working as an agent. But there was a little more time there. I mean, did you do the classes on your own? Was it online? How long
Yeah,
did
so
that
I
process take?
Yeah, so I took the classes online. I've talked to a few people about their sort of class routine. I did it in like 2 weeks. I
Wow.
mean, between the point where Jay told me, "Hey, this is something that you should do and something you should pursue. Go get your license." I think I had passed the state exam 2 weeks later, maybe like 12 days,
That's
and
awesome.
then started. That was a Friday. I came into the office on a Tuesday. It was the heat of COVID, so it was a lot different than I think a lot of the training experiences that people get, because people were very much off on their own. There were a lot of
Yeah.
members of the team that I didn't even see throughout my training, because they didn't want to come to the office. They wanted to be isolated in their houses, go out with clients individually, not have extra bodies there.
Hmm.
Um, and we trained for about 3 or 4 weeks before I started taking on clients. And then we did some, auxiliary training past that, to sort of just sharpen the skills up. But
Yeah.
there was a need for people to take on these leads and these clients that we were getting. And I came in to fill that role pretty quickly.
What was the most memorable part of the training? Did you enjoy the actual textbook component of it, or did you enjoy the role play, the interaction with your fellow agents? Because there were a few agents that were starting. There was a bunch of agents that were starting all at the same time, and I imagine you guys were training together, correct?
Well, so it was me and one other guy that were training at the same time.
Okay.
There were a couple that had started a little bit before us that were around a decent bit. Um, but really, I mean, there were countless hours spent of just me and John on our own, going out, touring houses, previewing, or talking with more of the senior agents about what their best practices are. And I think that's what I enjoyed the most. Just hearing from so many different
Yeah.
people that had been in the industry for so long about their best practices and kind of how they do things. And then taking all of those opinions and styles and kind of forming it into your own.
Yeah, and figuring out what's going to work best for you. Yeah, I had a similar experience. My experience was a lot different from the aspect that we had. Um, we were all in the office together,
Mhm.
so I was starting. I believe there was one other agent that was starting at the same time, so we kind of paired up. However, we were in an office with six other agents that have been there for years. So we were able to listen to the conversations. We were able to, actively ask questions while we were dealing with stuff and get that immediate response. Where I imagine your experience was probably a little more disconnected just because of the time. But having that ability to, bounce ideas off of agents that have been there for a while, like Harrison, Peyton was there at the same time, and these are all people we work with together. Carla. Carla was one of the first people I ever met on the team, and just having that ability to, when something comes up, turn to one of these experienced agents and ask a question and get an immediate response was, it's hard to really quantify how much that helped. But yeah, I don't know if I would have been able to hit the ground running the way you did if I was put in a similar situation, because it was so disconnected. I was in awe that they brought on all you guys at the same time, and then you guys were producing. You were out there actually doing it. So, all right, you didn't start with open houses, right? You were just fielding calls, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we were shadowing open houses, so I got some training on that. It was more so, focused on fielding calls. We did a lot of script training with, hey, here's how these incoming calls are going to come in. Here's what you're going to see. Here's how you should handle it. Here's how you should go on the first appointment.
Yeah.
And we had Peyton around a lot. Peyton taught us a lot. Jeff taught us a lot. Trish was around as well. Outside of the three of them, though, really my exposure to the other agents on the team was shadowing the open houses. And there rarely was downtime during the open houses in the middle of
Yeah.
COVID because you had 20 groups through. But when there was downtime, or those like 10, 15 minutes before, having a conversation with Carla, having a conversation with Ashley, and just kind of meeting them for the first time and then talking to them about, hey, this is what I've learned. What are your thoughts on it, or how do you do things? And then adapting that all together. I think that played a massive part in being able to go out there, meet people right off the bat and then work with them immediately, essentially.
What was your biggest takeaway from as far as, expectation versus reality? Did you have these expectations of what the job was going to be like day to day? And then did it differ from what it actually was?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. Like when you're just thinking about becoming an agent, you're watching a lot of like the Selling Sunset and the House Hunters and seeing like, oh, look at these
Yeah.
three beautiful houses. Which one do you want? And there's definitely an element of that, in how to show houses a specific way, but it's a lot different than the way that they do it on the show. Um, Also, coming off the class, you kind of learn so much knowledge through that class that's like very law based, and this is how the board of realtors is organized and stuff like that. And then you get thrust into a training environment that's a world of difference. So I think I didn't really have an expectation going in, but what I got out of it was just invaluable.
So you're 26 years old now, or you will be in a few hours.
Mhm.
What's the goal? Is this the long-term job for you, or is this a stepping stone onto something different?
Honestly, I think about my long term, and my goals are more personal, I think, when I think about them right now, because
Yeah,
I'm still learning a lot. I'm involved with Grid. I'm actually hosting Grid in January, which is our investor seminar series.
that's fantastic.
So, I don't know what the end goal in terms of career is. I don't know that it's to be an agent forever, but so far it's done well for me. So,
Well,
that's
and I know I rushed that question because what I want to do is I want to blow you up a little bit, because I meet a lot of we bring there's some turnover through our team. There's turnover through every team. There's turnover in our industry. I imagine if we looked straight at the numbers of the group that started at the same time as you, um, not many of them are still, with the team, but
yep.
that's just there's an attrition when it comes to this industry. And then when COVID, stopped and the world went back to normal, there was kind of like a purge of agents.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's part of the nature of the beast. And when you look
Yeah,
at the past few years, we had times where, the interest rate was going up a full percentage over the course of like 2 weeks. And
yeah,
that was really scary, especially for someone who hadn't been around for that long. To just say like,
yeah.
oh crap, half of the people I was dealing with are gone now, and they teach you all the objection handlers and things like that, and there's definitely a place for that. But the reality is that's not going to work all the time. And if you haven't been practicing that, when the interest rate is 2.5% and it's candy cane land, like it's really hard on a new agent.
Well, and that's where I want to give you kudos. It's like I see in you this desire to think outside the box of what I'm doing. So many agents I think got into this for the quick buck because they were hearing from their friends and seeing their friends be successful and be lucrative because it was kind of like shooting fish in a barrel at one point during the pandemic, and it was the numbers were ridiculous. Um, your skills as an agent weren't as important as your timing. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, and what I see in you is this desire to learn, to innovate, to bring things to the table that are going to make you and the people around you more successful. It's really refreshing to meet a person like you in this industry. And there's other people on our team like you as well. And just call out one of them. Isaac is another one. These people that just you guys are at a different level than a lot of these newer agents that just came in trying to make a quick buck. And you are setting yourself up for the long term. Another one I'll point out is Maxine. Maxine, I think she's like a quiet assassin. She came on about the same time as you and just
Mhm.
consistent, just gets it, does well. Now, maybe she might have been an agent, I think, before coming on with us someplace else in another state. But it's really neat to see you guys grow and adapt with what we're going through as an industry. Um, and I'm really, I'm glad to work with you. We've had a couple of opportunities to work together on programs, and you step outside of what a lot of people think we are as an industry, and you're actually trying to create, which is pretty cool. So
Mm.
good on you,
I,
brother.
I really appreciate that. And like just to kind of touch on what you said earlier, a lot of the people who got into it when they saw like the quick buck element of it, yes, there was a lot of attrition. A lot of them are out already. I'm part of the EXP Young Professionals Network, which is a
Yeah.
national group, and we do separate education sessions every week. And it's really interesting to see, especially the people who went in and they were solo agents in their certain town, maybe in like an Alabama or maybe up in New England or something like that. And they don't have that network that like we have of older agents that they can talk to about,
Mm.
hey, this is the issue that I'm running into. How would you handle this? So they're coming to this group and asking questions and going through these educational sessions. And I think just getting as much knowledge and learning as much as you can is what's most important. Um, for longevity in the industry. Because when I look at myself when I first started, yeah, so there was an element of like shooting fish in a barrel. And I think about the skills that I have now. And if I could have applied those when we were getting this just like influx of leads of ready to go buyers at a 2.5% interest rate, it would have been a whole different world, I think, personally.
That you kind of led into my question that I have here, like five down, is what would current Kevin tell newbie agent Kevin if you were able to go back in a time machine and give yourself a bit of advice? What would that advice be?
I think that advice would just be to take every opportunity to learn more so than you already were. Like there was an element of, hey, you have no skills right now as a brand new agent. We need to develop those, and being in situations where you're showing houses, being in situations where you're fielding these Zillow calls and taking clients out and things like that helps with that training. But then hearing from as many people as possible, like, yes, we have all these agents on our team who can teach everyone their specific style, but there's someone out in Colorado who might have a completely different idea and it might work amazing for you. So I think just take advantage of every learning opportunity is really the thing that I would tell, 23-year-old 2 weeks after starting the licensing class, Kevin.
Yeah, that would kind of my take on that question as well is if I could go back and talk to newbie Eric, I thought that I got into this industry a lot older than you. I believe I was in my 40s. Holy smokes. Was I in my 40s? And I'm an old man now. I thought I knew everything. You know what I mean? Like I got into this industry and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do fine because yeah, I've worked in all these other industries and I've been successful. And this is just, this is easy. Um, don't feel that way. Ask questions, realize that you're not the smartest person in the room. And when you're faced with something that you don't have the answer for, seek it out and learn and educate yourself. And I was a little quick to, try to just come up with a quick response and try to be, smart and cute and always have an answer. And sometimes the answer is, let me check into that. Let me find out for you. And yeah, that would be my response, similar to yours, is just learn as much as you can. Yeah, ask the silly questions. Now, you mentioned young professionals.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about how you got into that, why you got into that, and what's that all about?
Honestly, it again, I feel like a lot of my responses to like, how did I get into XYZ is kind of just, hey, I kind of stumbled into this. But I was out looking for more opportunities to learn. I was using a platform that EXP provides for us called Workplace, which is
Dude,
kind
well,
of like a,
fall up. That's what you're doing. I love it.
yeah.
There you
Well, it's like a Facebook, LinkedIn sort of network just for agents in our
go.
brokerage. And I got invited to a seminar mastermind sort of class that they were doing. And actually, what it was on how to film Instagram reels of home tours. And I said, hey, this is like really interesting information. I want to take advantage of this, but I want more of this. So I joined the group that was leading the mastermind. They had applications open for state leaders in probably 25 or 30 states. It was a fairly young group. It had about 600 people across the nation, but a majority of them were in Florida or in Texas, and there was no one in Virginia. And I said, hey, why not give this a shot? I applied, they selected me, and now we're rolling as the Virginia chapter of the EXP Young Professionals. And what it's all about really is providing that education. That's the goal of it, is
Yeah.
to take the young person who got into real estate, who wants to be in this for the long run, and give them all of the information and all of the tools to succeed. Because I think that sometimes what I hear a lot of is that young agents, when they're talking to an older agent who's maybe part of their brokerage, but they're not on a team together or something like that, they'll kind of talk down to them and be like, hey, I've been doing this for 30 years. You don't know what's going on. Here, honey, like take care of this. And that's not the experience that we want for these young agents. So we want to give them every tool to be ready to take that head on and, just kind of know exactly what to do.
Have you run into some of that adversity in your day to day with some of these older agents, kind of
I
talking
mean,
down to you?
sure, from some of the some of the listing agents who aren't part of our team, sure,
Yeah.
a little bit here and there. The fact that we have the Doğrul Associates brand behind us, people know that we're not just any other agent on the street. Like, yes, you can look me up. I've been doing this for 2.5 years. For a lot of people, that might mean that they've sold 3 houses. But being that I introduced myself as Kevin Muir with Doğrul Associates, they kind of understand what's behind that.
Yeah, they know that there's a level of training that you've had that most of these newer agents don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
So listening to what you said, a lot of insight, and yeah, you're really on the right path. And what I like about it is your your rationale isn't always about what it means for you. This isn't it's not a what's best for Kevin situation. It's almost like what's best for the people around me. How can I help?
Mm-hmm.
How can I bring people along on this journey? Because I think you get it when everybody's prospering, everybody's prosperous. You can put that on a t-shirt. That might be the stupidest thing I'll say today. But the question here is you are pretty deep into this now. You're 2.5 years in. I'm not going to say that's a lifetime of experience. However, you have seen our industry, I don't want to say do a 180, but make a pretty significant change, right? And you are a part of it. You're in it. Where do you see 5 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, our industry being? And where's Kevin in all this? Um, do you see technology taking over and taking off and people embracing the Facebook, the TikTok, and the Instagram? Do you see that going to the wayside and going back to more of a traditional type of transaction? Or do you see it just being the hardest thing ever and agents going away and people just buying a house with a thumbprint? What's your take on where the industry's going?
I think the thing with the industry and where it's going is we have more and more tools every day that we can use. When Zillow came around in the industry, I can imagine it was a big shock to a lot of the agents who were, only sending out postcards or only doing door knocking, that someone could go online and say, "Hey, this is what this website that some fancy algorithm says my house is worth."
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier, but the agents who were able to thrive were the ones who were able to use that tool and use to propel their business. So, for instance, people are sending out postcards where it says, "Hey, Zillow thinks your home is worth XYZ. I think they're wrong. Give me a call." And that's kind of disarming this tool
Yeah.
that people would think was
Yeah.
going to take over the world. I think the same can be said for AI and things like that. There's a lot of different tools out there that can be scary to someone who doesn't understand it, which is why it's important for everyone to be educated on these things, use these tools to propel the skills that they already have. We can go on camera and talk about XYZ on a YouTube video or something like that, or we can go to AI and say, "Hey, what are some things that home buyers are worried about?" And they'll give us a list of questions to ask. There's so many different resources to use this. And then on the back end, of course, it can be involved in training. It can be involved in
Yeah.
scraping leads, things like that. I just think that as technology goes on, it's going to make the good agents even better. And maybe it'll make some agents who don't have the skills better. Who knows? But the agents who have the soft skills, who know how to talk to people, who know how to negotiate, they're going to be able to utilize that and really propel their business forward, to infinity and beyond.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. It's leaning into that technology. It's what a lot of the older Neanderthals like myself sometimes push against. Um, you've got to flip that script and you've got to lean into this because this AI is the future, right?
Mhm,
And AI could possibly take over, but it's going to be the smart and savvy agent that realizes that AI can't do everything.
mhm.
AI isn't going to answer the phone at 10 o'clock when your hot water heater breaks. The agent that you did your transaction with, 6 months earlier or a year earlier or 2 years earlier will answer that phone call probably, or will absolutely have information that could help you out in that instance where um, you just don't get that personal touch with technology. And it's the agent that can bridge the technology with the personal touch, with the with that thing that we bring as humans, you know. Um, those are the agents that are going to be successful, I think. I think there is going to be um a massive change embracing technology in the next few years. And there will be, I don't like to use the word a culling, but there will be a lot of agents that we're losing agents now because of interest rates and how hard it is to negotiate because a lot of agents like yourself weren't taught the tools of negotiation. Um, but again, when it's going to happen again, when technology really, I think, makes that big push, um, and there is this effort to remove some of the noise that I think agents bring to it. But it's going to be the smart agents that will understand that and will use that technology. Like you said, you brought up an instance just when you were talking about uh,
Like using Zillow for the postcards and things like that.
Exactly. That is so smart, and it flips it. It's like it's one thing to say, "Hey, Zillow says your house is worth this much. Let's talk about how we can get it." No, it's saying that the technology might actually be wrong, and here's what the human aspect will bring to it. And
Mhm.
those are the type of things that, yeah, I mean, you nailed it. You hit the nail on the head with
Well, I
that.
mean, and
So
also, like, when you think about agents who have adapted to technology over time, there's probably an influx of agents who are making YouTube videos, for instance, who got really good at SEO, search engine optimization, or had someone on their team who was really good at it, and it
yeah,
propelled them forward in the past. Having some of this AI stuff and having all of the tools and everything that you can find on Google essentially that can teach you search engine optimization, it can make someone who doesn't have that background or that understanding initially, it levels the playing field to a degree where
yeah,
there's not only one person who people are seeing on the internet of, hey, Eric sells 10 billion homes in Burke Center every year. Now you're
bless you.
seeing Eric and someone else,
Yeah.
both sell in Burke Center. And maybe the numbers aren't the same for both those agents, but if the searchability and the visibility is there, it's a really strong tool.
Dude, for somebody who's only been doing this for relatively a short period of time, you got a lot of knowledge to give to the rest of us. So thank you for being a part of this today, man. You brought more than I expected. So bless you. And you did it on your birthday. What are your plans for your birthday? Do you have some plans?
I'm going to have a special surprise for the team at our Secret Santa tomorrow. I have a wonderful Secret Santa partner that I'll be giving a gift to, and then I'm just going to have a nice dinner with my family and with my wonderful girlfriend Nicole.
That
So
is
that'll be
awesome.
nice.
A different Nicole than the one that's on this podcast regularly.
A, a
So
different
she's
Nicole than the one that
married.
I'm replacing on the podcast for this episode.
Okay, good. All right, just to clarify. Kevin, thanks, man. You killed it. You brought the heat. Yeah, your advice and insights were absolutely shaken and not stirred. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us tonight.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks so much, Eric. This has been great.
Well, let's do it again real soon. But for now, this has been. I gotta go look at my script because I've only done this like 47 times. And our producer is like snickering right now. This idiot can't remember the friggin' 2-line outro. Oh, and he's showing us a cat right now.
Oh,
Anyway,
look at that.
thank you, Kevin. This has been Real Agents of Fun, Real Agents of Change, and Real Agents of Real Estate. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe. Click the little button. Let's double our views from last week, which only means we need about, I think, 10 more, something like that. So thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks for hanging on to the very end. Kevin, you're amazing, and we'll talk to you guys soon. See you later.
Thanks all.